The Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra might be the ultimate Android phone. At the very least, it may be the first true AI phone. It definitely manages to meld the consistent Galaxy S series aesthetic with all that made the previous Ultras notable, including the S Pen. But this is also a phone that is distinctly different from all previous Ultras thanks to deep and richly baked in generative AI capabilities. It's a fantastic mix that will also please the most ardent Android, Samsung, and Google Gemini fans. Let's dig into the details. So it starts at $1,299.99 for the 256GB storage model with 12 GB of RAM. The design looks more like the rest of the Galaxy S series crew. It is in fact lighter and thinner, but still fits the S Pen and a 5,000 mAh battery. Compared to the S24 Ultra, this phone is at 162.8 by 77.6 by 8.2 millimeters, slightly taller, but also narrower and thinner. It's also considerably lighter at 218 grams. That is compared to the S24 Ultra's 232 grams. That's a difference I noticed when I held the phone in my hand for the first time. And yes, that is lighter than Apple's iPhone 16 Pro Max, which weighs in at 227 grams. I've got to give Samsung credit here for making a lighter phone that somehow maintains the 5,000 mAh battery and the inclusion of an S Pen. The body is a combination of titanium and Gorilla Glass armor too. It's also IP68, which means it can take a drop in the toilet or a lake. As for the S Pen, yep, still included and slips inside the body. Yes, it's small and thin, but highly effective. Now, there's no more Bluetooth low energy support in this pen, which means fewer remote features. Not that I think you'll care. Overall, it's a great implement for note-taking, drawing, and altering images with the stroke of an AI-powered pen. Let's talk about the display. This is the biggest Galaxy Ultra screen yet. It is responsive and color-rich. It has ProScaler technology built inside of it. Now, there were no other display technology changes since the last model. If you assume that a lighter, thinner smartphone might feature a smaller screen though, you would be pleasantly surprised. So Samsung's managed to make the S25 Ultra screen 6.9 inches diagonally. That is 0.1 inches larger thanks to a 15% smaller bezel. That's the thin black band that surrounds the screen. Adjusting the screen size is almost the full extent of changes between the S24 Ultra and the S25 Ultra. It's still a Quad HD Plus display running at 3,120 by 1440 pixels, which is actually higher than the iPhone 16 Pro Max's Super Retina XDR display that runs at 2868 by 1320. You won't see the S25's Quad HD Plus resolution though, unless you dig into the settings and switch from the default FHD Plus resolution, which is 2340 by 1080. There's actually good reason to leave well enough alone. The FHD Plus resolution looks excellent in most tasks, and you will get better battery life with the lower resolution. Now, there is one notable update that is not exactly in the screen technology, but the visibility is there. It's ProScaler. ProScaling is the ability to take any lower resolution content and upscale it automatically so it appears better on the higher resolution screen. It is powered by silicon and might come in handy if, say, you're playing an old game or watching an old video on the Quad HD Plus screen. This is a beautiful display with only a round cutout for the selfie camera. Underneath the display is the ultrasonic fingerprint reader, which didn't always like my thumb, but was happy to work with my index finger after I registered that. Let's talk about the cameras. There are lots of lens choices, and overall, the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra takes excellent photographs. Samsung still favors oversaturated images, but the high megapixel count resulted in some exquisitely detailed imagery. So here's what you get. You get a main camera that's 200 megapixels. You get a 5x optical telephoto, which is 50 megapixels and can crop to a 10x zoom on the same sensor. You have a 3x optical 10 megapixel camera, an ultra wide that is 50 megapixel, and a front-facing camera that's 12 megapixel. Overall, the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra takes better photos than ever. That is due in part to the updated Pro Visual Engine, but also because of that new 50 megapixel ultra wide, which is a champ in low light and for macro images. I did have a lot of fun with the zoom, which tops out at 5x optically, but on the 50 megapixel sensor, you can crop in, and that will give you an effective 10x optical zoom. Now, time to talk about AI. Samsung is full steam ahead with deep AI integration. It blurs the lines between Galaxy AI, Google Gemini, and Bixby. There's something called Now Brief, which is a smart idea which starts with limited utility. The full power of AI may take some time to reveal itself. One of the hallmarks of this system is that it's less about which AI is doing what than it is about execution and availability. You might be using Galaxy AI for one task, Google Gemini for a different prompt, and Bixby for system-level queries. The lines between these systems are blurred, as are those between apps built by Google, Samsung, and some third-party companies. Samsung likes to talk about AI agents, though I wouldn't yet call this agentic AI. Most of the AI inside this S25 Ultra is not acting on your behalf without your intervention. But to be fair, it doesn't take much to launch relatively complex queries beyond a long press of the power button, which is also the Gemini button, and speaking to the phone. Interactions with Gemini and other AI can be as simple as pressing the button and asking a question about, say, the weather, or something as complex as find me chili recipes on YouTube and then collect them in a note. That prompt results in Gemini perusing YouTube, finding the recipes, and then collecting them in a Samsung note. So it crosses over. This cross-app prompt functionality works with a small collection of non-Google and non-Samsung apps, including Spotify and WhatsApp. I asked Google Gemini to find science-related podcasts on Spotify and then make a list of them in notes. It sort of got it right, but unfortunately Gemini collected the list of links, and when I asked Gemini to please give me a list of names, it couldn't comply. Now, the multimodal capabilities mean that the AI can react to everything from photos and videos to audio. Samsung, though, does have some work to do on making these processes simple and seamless. One of the more exciting aspects of the S25 Ultra's AI capabilities is its potential to learn from you and offer helpful daily guidance. This shows up as something called the new Now Brief widget on the home screen. At a glance, it might appear like a simple, albeit personalized widget with some information about your day, but it's actually more than that. And it may become more useful the more you use the phone and the more Samsung devices you own. Now Brief is tied to the new personal data engine, a local bit of learning AI that's housed in a special core on the Qualcomm Snapdragon Gen 8 Elite chip. The S25 Ultra uses that processing space to gather and analyze useful and, of course, encrypted data and insight about you. And then it presents it in morning, midday, evening, and late night briefs. These do include basic stuff like calendars, weather, reminders, but it can also give you insights like your energy score. And if you wear a Samsung Galaxy Watch or a Galaxy Ring to bed, it can even tell you about your sleep quality. Eventually, it'll start offering suggestions. As I said, the AI is found everywhere. It lets you do things like remove background noise from audio. So if you shoot a video in a crowded space, you can turn that audio all the way to the sound you want while removing all of the background noise. Just remember that if you go too far, it can sound a little artificial. On the photo side, you can add almost anything you can imagine. With sketch to image, you can draw a doodle and it will be converted into something realistic looking on an existing photo. If you just want to draw fantasy stuff, you can turn any doodle into oil paintings, watercolors, cartoons. You can even do sketch to image on a photo, so you'll take a photo of a friend and turn it to something that looks like it belongs in the Wall Street Journal. There is just an endless amount of tools and features for managing and converting content using AI. It's like you're just scratching the surface. And if you just want to do something like clean up a bad photo, maybe somebody walked into frame as you were taking the perfect shot, you can use the generative image erase to basically remove people all at once or individually. And if you don't like what you did, you can pop back and go to the original photo once again. Let's talk about performance. This features the fastest Ultra chip ever. It has a personal data engine for core deep AI support. The chip is super efficient. So this is by far the most powerful Galaxy phone I have ever used, and that's mostly due to the new Qualcomm Snapdragon Gen 8 Elite for Galaxy CPU. It's a 3nm chip backed by 12 GB of RAM. Not only are the benchmarks strong, but the performance is just plain stellar. Let's talk battery life. So you get days of battery life, like a day and a half. You get cool operation. The 5,000 milliamp battery is actually the same size as last year's Ultra, but this one lasts longer because it's running on a far more efficient subsystem. This has the power-sipping Snapdragon Gen 8 Elite and a new and larger vapor chamber system. So it's running cool, it's running fast, it's running longer. Ultimately, this is probably the best looking, best performing, and smartest Galaxy Ultra Samsung has ever produced. I love that it's lighter and thinner without giving anything back on screen size, battery life, or performance. This smartphone is dripping with AI integration. It's everywhere you look and touch, and it's often quite useful. Now, I don't think the cross-app integration is as good as it could be, nor do I think the personal data engine is something that will wow customers when they first start using the phone. But actually, that should change as the phone learns about you. The performance is excellent, and battery life is close to extraordinary. It's not a cheap phone, but with the price unchanged from the last model and the inclusion of the S Pen and a larger screen, it still feels like a good value. Plus, you'll find great trade-ins and other deals on this phone, so don't expect to pay full price. Now, don't forget to check out our full review on TechRadar.com and hit subscribe for more reviews, podcasts, and how-tos.